Welcome back to the Modern Creative Podcast. It is your boy Alberto Mendoza. I am joined today with Stephen Skrocki. Is that it? Did I say that right? There you go.
Yes, sir.
And he is based out of, I believe you said Lexington, South Carolina.
Yes, sir.
And he is a videographer, cinematographer who specializes in sports videography. We have a sports videographer in the house, man. So I'm very excited to get you on the podcast, man. Stephen, dude, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. I've been busy as hell. I hope I can curse on this podcast.
You could let it fly if you want.
Okay, cool. I mean, I kind of want. I try to keep as PG as I possibly can. Although I'm wearing a John Daly shirt right now because my Skrocki Sports apparel is all dirty from Friday night. But yeah, man, doing good. Hey, wife, how you doing? So, yeah, man, just got a lot of projects on. And, of course, my day job, I've got, like, a million things going on right now because it's our busiest season. So, man, we're just cranking it out and having fun.
I want to talk about all this right here, but, like, busy is good, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know if we're technically in a recession, but I keep hearing we're going to get in a recession pretty soon. So, I think if you're staying busy, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if it's like a recession or not. I mean, I'm not some freaking...
Technically speaking, mathematically speaking, I don't know exactly, but it's like I keep hearing that threat, and I don't know if it's just trying to spook the people out here or whatnot. So, like, I don't know.
Man, I don't know. I mean, my wife's an accountant, and she kind of keeps up with it. And but she's like, the technical definition of a recession is, you know, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, all right, well, all I know is that we ain't moving into this house because we got a damn good interest rate. So,
well, Steven, dude, let's hear a little bit about you, man. How did you get into the creative space? Were you always into videography, photography, or creativity since the jump as a kid, or is it something that evolved throughout time? Let's hear your backstory, bro.
Yeah, I got a little. It's kind of interesting. I'm super ADHD, so. It's and finally got diagnosed after 30 years, so that's lovely. So I think that's where like kind of the creativity like kind of sparks. I've always been into music. My mom's a fantastic singer, so is my sister. I was always on the drums, and like I was always moving, and I always wanted to be. I always had somewhat of a creative side, but I always was very athletic too. Not athletic to get into D1, but you know, toy rotator cuff kind of thing, made all state, whatever.
Damn injuries, man.
That wholesome meal. No, so I basically got into my major. I'll really dial it back. So my major at Clemson University is graphic communications. So it's the lovely marriage of print and packaging and business. But they squeeze in there a little bit of media and like design, all that kind of stuff. And ironically now it's totally shifted. So I really wish I would have gone there now teaching this stuff, because now they're doing like way more digital marketing and more of the digital side of stuff instead of print's not going away, packaging's not going away, but the money is in the digital side. So kind of wish I was more into that, but we took a photography class. It was like a media class, and learned how to use a camera. I borrowed my cousin's camera because he just started getting into photography, and I mean it was a crap camera, but it did the job. And I remember one time where we learned how to use like basically slow shutter right on a fast moving object, and I got my fraternity brothers on the basketball court, and 30 minutes straight on a tripod, and all they were doing was layups and one-on-one. So I worked those boys to death. And so as time progressed, got through the class, whatever. And it was my last year of college, and I always got annoyed that whenever we had a formal or like a party or anything, it was the crappiest photos. Like, I mean, just awful. So I actually just kept my cousin's camera, and he got a new one. And all I did was I charged that thing up. I didn't know a lick of like, I just put everything on auto, and it had like the little flip flash on it. And I just said, y'all take as many pictures as you want, have fun. And I'm gonna throw it in a Facebook album that's private and that all of our dates could have pictures. And it was actually really cool because it was a good way to kind of talk to another person's date if your date sucked. So a little bit of thieving right there, but Kind of kept doing
do you
that.
remember do you remember the camera that you were using back then?
I want to say it was a Rebel T3i.
I feel like that's everyone's go-to starting
Everybody's.
camera. The Rebel T. The Rebel T.
And I don't know. I really don't know why. And I didn't know jack crap about cameras. I just knew how to point, shoot, and then throw it into. Well, I guess back then, I mean, there were some light editing tools, but this is circa what 2016. So sure there was, right? I'm sure there was a Lightroom, but I didn't know anything about it really. I mean, I knew there was Photoshop, but I wasn't going to dump 1,000 pictures and manually edit it all.
I still don't know how to use Photoshop like that.
Right. And so time moved on, and I graduated college, moved down to Orlando, Florida, and I hated it. Absolutely hated it. Moved up to Charlotte about 10 months later and went to be with my girlfriend, who is now my wife. And a little quick shout out, we started dating in high school.
What was in Orlando? Was it work related, creativity,
work. So, the plan was always for me to go down to Orlando, or at least in my mind, go down and get the work experience at this print facility, because I was basically a salesman, and they told me to go door to door, which was not promised. That's not exactly how the job was supposed to be, but went down there. It was terrible, and found a new job with actually Shutterfly up in Charlotte, and basically working as an account manager and be with my wife. So so once I got to Charlotte, I joined a gym, and this is where it really started to take off, because I had done some social media marketing at the school, because I was basically running the personal trainers at our school gym, social media and all that kind of stuff, and like kind of running the gym social media in terms of campus activities. So I'd always had an affinity for social media. It's the largest phone book in the world. So I always thought that was cool. The gym that I joined, I didn't want to join like a global I did the YMCA, hated it. I love heavy lifting. I love Olympic lifting. That's kind of my thing. I love being athletic. So never been to a CrossFit box. So finally went to one and kind of just talked to the guys. And dude was a recent USC, not Southern Cal, South Carolina grad. And we hit it off, and he was like, hey man, dude, our social media sucks. We need some good pictures. I don't know how to do any of this. I was like, well, I know a little bit about pictures and whatnot. So I grabbed a, what was that camera? Oh my God. I can't remember what it was. I don't know. It was not that good. And I had a small kit lens with it, and I was just taking photo and posting on social media and whatnot, and I started to get decent at it, and I realized, damn, my camera's not fast enough for this. I need a faster camera. Well, year later, and after, I was using a flash at a CrossFit competition. I'm I'm blinding these guys. This is ridiculous. So I was I gotta get something faster, and I had finally saved up the money. I was like, okay, I'm going to just go look up on Google best sports camera, right? Well, I found the Sony a7 III because everybody was like, mirrorless is really good for sports and whatnot. I was like, okay, well, lo and behold, the camera came out a month after I Googled it. And I didn't even realize I paid
revolutionary camera. Revolutionary camera.
Right, and I had no idea. All I knew is that from my old camera to Sony a7 III, I was like, holy crap, I'm shooting a machine gun right now. So that kind of morphed into actually a lot of models in Charlotte wanting to shoot. So I got into more portrait photography and stuff like that. And it was cool, but the hard part that I found was, first off, everybody kind of gave me crap for it because you're shooting half naked ladies and you're married. So probably not a good look, even though my wife doesn't care. She's like, dude, Stephen just wants to go take a cool photo, and he's about the art and he's about the money. He doesn't care about that. So, and half the girls were kind of weird anyway. But either way, it was fun. But we started the transition out of Charlotte because of COVID. We couldn't afford Charlotte anymore. So then went down to Lexington, and I always knew I wanted to do sports, whether it was going to be in Charlotte doing whatever high school is around me or CrossFit or whatever, right? I wanted to do sports. And so moved down to Lexington. Actually, I think that move actually got me let go from my job with Shutterfly. So I was unemployed for like 10 months. And all I was doing was like sports stuff because I had dabbled into that. And then like literally 5 months later, I got let go. So I don't know the correlation to that. I don't know if Shutterfly knew that, but whatever. I'm not going to comment. But I started to really get into it then, and that's when I started. So like really 2021 is where it really started to take off, because 2020 I did my first sports job ever. One of my good friends from high school, he was working as like an IT person for this private school. And he said, hey man, like, I don't know if you do video, but these people want to highlight videos. So, I guess you could, if you're interested, like they could talk to you. And I absolutely bullshitted how I like, oh yeah, I can totally do it. Talking to the parents, I was like, yeah, like you can see this and see that. This is what I've done. Totally not mine. And,
you gotta do what you gotta do, I guess.
So all I did was I looked up like, okay, I know my camera can do 120 frames per second. That's what you're supposed to do. And as I shot the game, when I went home, I Googled within like a week, just nothing but like settings, how to slow stuff. I mean, I was on YouTube like crazy. Cranked out the video. They loved it. And I was like, okay, I think I got something here. So 2021 hits, and that's when I finally signed with a school, and like a local high school. I'm sorry, I should back up. So I started then doing some baseball stuff because that was 2021 spring, right? So doing a lot of baseball stuff, and that was when I was really experimenting with like what settings I should use, what kind of editing style I liked, how to actually put stuff into Premiere and make it cinematic, and learning. I knew the sport. I mean, I played it all my life, so that was the benefit of me, is that I know where the ball is going to go. I know what kind of pitch is coming. I know what's going to happen. So it's really easy for me to film. So then football season comes around. So 2021 fall, still ain't got a job. Actually, that was when I just got let go. So I am full into this, and I'm ready to roll. Signed with a team here locally, and I made one video, and it was a kid who actually plays at South Carolina now, Nick Emenwari. If you're watching this, shout out to you. He had like a black visor on, and he had Batman gloves, and his team was like a Pittsburgh Steeler. Like that's kind of who they embodied. And I made this like 8-second, 9-second video of him just like kind of being cool, right? And then he flashed the Batman gloves, and I put like the Bane voice from Dark Knight Rises in there, and that thing just took off, right? And I think I gained like 10,000 followers on Instagram. Like, it was insane. And that was also when Reels was just like exploding, and like it was the gold rush. So really from there, I started to get more jobs, started to get like, basketball. Then I did a lot more baseball. And then the next year, kind of the same thing, linked up with a couple brands, like actual glove brands, and then like a, what do you call them? Supplement company, like just kind of doing something like that. And now I'm going to call this my third year of like really doing just sports. Like, I think before I was kind of just bull crapping around and trying to make a couple extra bucks, but now it's like serious with it. This is the money you're going to pay. This is the contract. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. You can find someone else cheaper. Fine. Don't care. But yeah, so really I'm going to say this is like my third year of like really taking it seriously. So that's my story, all in a nutshell. I
love that. I love that. I wouldn't necessarily say that the years prior to taking it serious was just BSing. I feel like you're probably trying to figure yourself out, figuring out different kinds of avenues of content creation, but you honed in and you niched down to sports videography. You're an athlete yourself. I've seen some of the videos of you doing powerlifting and whatnot. So like you said, the sport, so it made sense for you to document that, and it just came very natural to you. But the part of the story that I really love is that you weren't hesitant to say. I feel like most people would be like, if someone asked you, hey, can you shoot this video for us? Some people would probably cave like, I don't know if I could do it. I don't have the gear. I don't even know how to edit. I don't even know what editing software I should use. You're like, I could do it. I'm going to figure it out.
Yep, that's how I've always been. I'll figure it out. That's like I'm gonna tell my future kids that like if they don't know how to do something, figure it out. I don't know what to tell you, bub. So yeah, that's how I've always kind of been. Like I've always been I'm 5'8". Now I'm way too fat, but back then, in high school, like 5'8". Football season I was 200 pounds. Wrestling season I was 180. Back to baseball season I was 200. So like I played on the line, a little bit off the line, football. Like I've always been a smaller dude, right? So I always kind of had, and I'm not the smartest. I'm an absolute stooge. I'm dumb as hell. Like I've never made above 1,000 on the SAT, right? And somehow made it into Clemson. I don't know how, but like I always pride myself of like just figure it out. Like it does not matter what it is, just figure it out, right? Because no one wants to hear about your complaining, no one wants to hear about your crying,
and it's so awkward. I hate when someone's complaining to me. It's like, what am I supposed to do with this information? Like, am I supposed to bring the little violin and start playing it for you, some sad music?
Exactly.
Like,
I got the world's smallest violin for you, pal. There you go.
It's like, I don't know what you want from me. Like, I just don't get it. Like, I don't know. Like, call it, I guess maybe I'm an asshole. I don't know. But I just don't. I hate people that complain, man. Just like, the answers are out there. Go figure it out.
Yeah. One of me and my wife's biggest pet peeve is asking a question without trying to Google it first. I mean, it doesn't. I don't get it. I don't understand. Whenever someone asks me, I have no problem with giving out advice, right? Like, but I have learned to gatekeep a little because you will get undercut in this business like no other, especially with all these a lot of newcomers that can just go buy. I mean,
4K camera for $1,000 now.
Exactly. You can get a Best Buy credit card, or hell, you can just go to Best Buy, buy it, and then get all the gear, shoot within 7 days, and return it and get your money back. I mean, people do it at Lowe's for tools all the time. Why don't they do it with technology? So
they do. No, they do, actually. I've seen it done many times. I know a few people that get some stuff on Amazon, and they just return it right after.
Exactly. So a lot of these, and I say kids, right? But it's not obviously just the kids, but it's mostly the high schoolers, right? And I have no problem with giving out advice, but sometimes when you start to get to a certain level, there is a certain level of gatekeeping that you have to do, especially if you can kind of see the writing on the wall if there's some competition. So, that's kind of another tangent, but
currently you're working with a school or just a specific team?
No, I'm actually, this year I'm doing a little different. I was going to work with a team, but circumstances just didn't work out. So, I'll take that off the record with you. But I actually got a lot of inspiration from a guy up in Charlotte, North Carolina. His name is Xavier, and his YouTube is called Zaflix. And him and another person, Next Gen Highlights, is also on YouTube. They have built their YouTube following pretty high up. And the Zaflix guy, he told me, he was like, look, man, like, stop worrying about like all these schools. They're gonna nickel and dime you for everything. Now, if you can do school highlights for them, cool. If you can do personal highlights for people, great. Keep doing it, but really work on that YouTube because it will pay dividends. And so I was like, you know what? I got a day job, loving it. It's pretty good. Wife's got a good job. So basically, I have the room I can go to a game that I want to and not make any money per se, right? But I can get my name out there. So I'm kind of reversing roles of what I did when I first started. But now I've got the tools to get, I'm now better at what I do in my craft. Now it's more so like perfecting the technicalities of how do you get better at YouTube? How do you get better at your SEO? Like the digital marketing part of it.
Yeah, I was taking a look at your YouTube right before this call, and I was quite impressed, man. You have some pretty numbers, man, as far as like view counts, and your videos are running from like 15 to like I've seen as long as like 30 minutes. It's like, damn, and obviously YouTube loves longer videos. I know society thinks that shorter with shorts, reels, and TikToks is it's the way to go, but like the real, like I say, if you want to monetize a YouTube channel, like having those lengthy videos and the view count and retention, that is a breadwinner right there.
Right. And I've got a couple of ideas that I want to do as far as the YouTube anyway. One of my best friends, he's an influencer, right? And he talks to me about like a couple of ideas that I should do and whatnot. And I actually looked at him for guidance on like, well, I guess I'm kind of a micro influencer too. I mean,
100%.
I guess. And I hate saying that too because it sounds
it's cringe.
So
I know. I hate saying it,
right?
but it is what it is.
Right. And hell, I think half my followers on Instagram are fake anyway. So, but regardless, I do have some reach, and I looked to him for advice, and he's given me some couple of ideas to kind of go off of, and I think I might start implementing that in the fall, just kind of test it out. And like I said, this is kind of like a testing period for me of like, you're going to see some different stuff from me as far as my socials and maybe some of the YouTube and how I conduct things. I just want to see what the audience really likes, you know?
Do you mind sharing with us, and you don't have to if you don't want to, but do you mind sharing those couple of ideas that you have?
Sure, yeah. So one of the things I want to do is actually make like on my channel, since it's already labeled Skrocki Sports, right? I'm going to have like playlists of like obviously each sport that I film, but I would love to do like, have you ever heard of, you know who Draymond Green is? Basketball player, right? He has his own little podcast, and literally after every game, just gets in front of his laptop, has a microphone, talks, right? I would love to do that as soon as I'm done filming the football game and give my thoughts.
Thoughts on the actual game itself or the filmmaking aspect?
So, well, I guess I could do both, right? I mean, I'm all ears, right? But talking about literally just the game from like an athletics perspective, like the game, right? What did I see? Listening to like the radio on the way home of like the scores, like talk about that stuff. And if anybody else is filming stuff around the state, I'd love to like watch that and just commentate on that. And then maybe, even just like sports in general. Like I've always wanted to do something like this where like I call a coach and get them on the show, right? And we just talk about what do you think the future of high school sports is? What do you think of college recruiting these days? What about NIL? Like just stuff like that.
I mean, that sounds like a good idea, man. I don't see why not. Like, you have the gear. I mean,
the time,
the technology's there.
It's the time to do it, right? It's when I'm done filming at 10 o'clock at night and I got to go back home at 10:30. Am I really going to open up? Then I got college football Saturday, NFL Sunday, and then it's back to work on Monday, right? It's like it's hard enough to already edit my videos as is and get them out, right? But
you do a pretty good job of consistently pumping on your Instagram page.
I try to stay to a good schedule as much. I've tried to do a lot better. Like instead of doing the whole Dom Mazzetti bro science, like new YouTube every time I feel like it, right? Like I'm trying to be way more consistent about when to post because I want my audience to know, okay, his video is coming out on Monday at 7 p.m., right? The social video is coming out at 5 p.m. on Monday, right? Like stuff like that. And I'm trying to be more consistent and make a schedule for that. But just a lot of ideas like that. I've thought about getting someone else to film me on the sidelines and like just kind of like a vlog like thing to do. But I don't know who wants to film me because I don't want to talk during the game because I can't have my voice on the microphone, right? So. And the plays happen so fast, right? That it's
here's an idea.
Might have to do an overlay. I don't know.
You could always do that. I mean, there's this kid, and oh my god, I'm forgetting his name. I literally discovered this kid like a few days ago, and I've been binging his YouTube channel. And what made his video so special is because he is also a DP and videographer based out of Orlando, Florida. And all he literally does is on his BTS is literally just has an iPhone the entire time. This guy has a Sony FX6, so it's a $6,000 camera plus accessories makes it to $10,000. So can he shoot 4K? Of course he can, but he's showing you the actual BTS, pretty much what you just described right there. And he's with the phone, it looks pretty good, 4K. It looks good to me. Obviously, you're not gonna have the crazy depth of field compared to a mirrorless camera or a full frame. And he's just making it work. And then if for some reason he cannot speak during the actual production, he just does an overlay, a voiceover. And to me, that's like, I gravitated to that kind of content because it is not pretty and it is not shiny compared to like all these YouTubers that have the greatest setup with lights and all that good stuff. It was just him on his phone And to me, I don't know, so it was very like grassroots, and I really appreciated that. So just an idea, just use your phone,
It's
man.
authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's authentic, right? People appreciate authenticity. I mean, that's the reason why, you know, you see a lot of the social media campaigns for a lot of companies, right? They're going away from the traditional, you know, gotta be corporate, right? Like they're going to funny humor, right? I mean, Wendy's Twitter is constantly roasting people on Twitter.
I love that. Yeah.
And yeah, so like things are changing. People want to see authentic people. So, you know, I thought about that. One time I've strapped up a GoPro on my chest and tried to do like a POV thing. But I didn't have enough battery for the whole game. So
you definitely need a battery bank because GoPro batteries are garbage.
Yes. And so I thought about like maybe, because I've seen rigs with like the camera
The 360,
on the side, like
the 360 camera and whatnot.
Yeah, that too. I mean, but like getting like the phone and just being right there and like I don't know, like having a battery bank kind of magnetized to the back of it and just getting like some old ass iPhone or something like that and just like sticking it there. Like, I'm sure I could go to the Verizon store right now and get like an iPhone 11 for $50 or something like that. You know, like. Something like that. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of ideas brewing that, maybe that's the problem. I got too many damn ideas, but
that's the thing, man. Like when you have too many ideas, you got to just write them down and just do a little checkbox, man. Just like, all right, today I'm going to tackle this, or this week I'm going to focus on this, and just do a check mark. Can you, let's get a little nerdy, man, and let's talk about your current 2023 gear setup.
Sure. Yep. So I have got, all right, so let's see. So I primarily shoot Sony A7S III, the Feel World F6 monitor. I just bought it. Yeah, I think it's F6. The Feel World Pro, not Feel Good. Regular like little shotgun mic, Rode. You know, it's very tiny. Because what I'm shooting, it's gonna be loud anyway. So, got a little small rig on it, you know, handle and battery extender and all that kind of crap.
Where do you go to lenses?
Lenses, I've got the 17-28 Tamron, 28-75 Tamron, and then 70-200 f2.8 Sony.
Ooh, beefy.
Well, all right, so I listened to the last guy, Juan, and he talks about you only need an f4, and I respectively disagree. I think that's bullcrap, because I know like the Sony A7 III can shoot low light pretty good. He's also shooting professional stuff, which has incredible lighting on the rink, on the field, right? I'm shooting at facilities that the kids can't even tie their shoes, right? So like the lights aren't even on. So, you know, I made a decision a long time ago to go ahead and get the big boy, right? And now this is the first generation. I've loved it ever since, and I don't buy brand new. I've never bought any of this except for like, if it's $200 or less, I'll buy brand new. Anything over that, it's always used.
Gotcha. And so how do you approach these games, man? Are you going handheld for the most part? Are you going gimbal? What is your like main setup looking like?
All handheld. Everything. No gimbal. And that gimbal right there, if anyone wants to buy it, go for it, because I don't ever use it. And hell, they don't even make it. They discontinued it. It's like the DJI Ronin, like
first gen
C or
SC
or something like that.
SC, yeah, because I used to own it myself.
I don't even know if it's the SC. I looked that up, and they still make it. It's the one that doesn't be made anymore.
I think it's the SC one because now it's the R. Now it went from SC to like RS.
Yeah, I used it twice, and like I always said, I'm just gonna keep it around for, I might use it for something. I'd never use it. So so what I just said earlier of what I'm rocking with. So pregame I will have so Sony A7S III 28-75. And then obviously like battery extender, the rig, microphone, all that. I never take it apart. The only things that I take apart are the lenses.
So your workflow is very seamless and pretty fast and easy.
Yeah, pretty much. So pregame, I 28-75. I've shot with 17-28 before. It's a little too wide. And
it's
and
rare
pregame
when
goes fast.
it's rare when I use 17. The only time I use a 17 and 25 is literally just for the podcast. Other than that, I rarely use it.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I've used it a couple times for pregame stuff, but yeah, I don't know. So that's pretty much what I do. Pregame is 28 to 75, and then when teams go back into their locker rooms and they're doing the whole the national anthem, all that kind of stuff. That is when I will switch to the 70 to 200, go to the middle of the field, do some close-up shots because my favorite shot, and this is from a guy that I love. His photos are absolutely amazing. If you look up CS Productions on Instagram, like this kid is an 18-year-old going to Clemson now, phenomenal photos. And he had a photo one time where he shot through the in between, like someone was like holding their hands on their hips, like meeting in between the fields, and he shot in between there and a guy's like profile right straight on, and his color grading is perfect. He probably just uses a preset every single time, but whatever. And I love that shot, so I always try to get that shot, and that's my thumbnail, right? So it's straight on, so like away team, home team on the thumbnail every time. Now, if I get a sick photo during the game, that's definitely going to be a thumbnail. But that's my game plan, and then you just go back, wait for the game. And the whole game, I'm 70 to 200, and I'm usually like 40 to 50 yards, or 30 to 40 yards behind in front of the offense.
And 7,200 is good enough for you. When I was watching some of your examples, I assume you had some sort of like a 300 to 600 millimeter or something like that.
Nope.
7,200. No, yeah, obviously, but just like that range you get, because you look pretty damn close, and I'm like, no way that could be a 7,200, because I own a 7,200, and but I mean, obviously you have more experience in the sports field, so you know how to position yourself to get those critical angles and critical shots and moments.
Yeah, and I've been to a lot of games where like the sideline, like the coaches aren't jerks, right? So like sometimes I might be like right next to the coaches, like with all the players too, depending on where they are on the field and how good the offense is moving, right? Like if it's a crap offense, I'm going to be closer so I can get a better view of like the defense, right? If it's a great offense, I'm going to scoot farther back, right? So, just a lot of like stuff like that. 7,200 is like God's gift to this earth in terms of camera stuff for me. Like it's been amazing. I mean, that first job that I did for that private school, I did on the 28 to 75 Tamron, and it served its purpose, right? But I don't crop in on. I mean, what you see on YouTube is 200 at the max. I don't crop in at all.
No post cropping. Wow.
Not at all.
Nice. That's pretty damn good, man. As far as having access to these teams, how do you approach communicating with these teams, like, because you're not working for a specific school, right?
Yeah. So, I'm. This may sound really bad, but I kind of just walk in. I just kind of walk in. It's kind of one of those. I know this sounds really pretentious, but like, see someone with a big ass camera, they kind of just don't really question if they're media or not, right? So. Now, if it is I haven't shot really anywhere like that I have not been to as of yet, where I did not seek out permission, right? So, like this Friday, I've been to this place. The coaches know me. If I just show up, they're going to dap me up. They're going to say, hey, how you doing? Right? Like all that kind of stuff. And it's actually, the other team is the team that I just shot this past Friday. So they all know me, and I'm probably going to do some work with them too. So a lot of the times, I don't want to be that guy that just shows up if it's a brand new school. So I'll reach out to the AD and, I'll ask them, and I'll basically just like, hey, I'm a local content creator, based out of Lexington, South Carolina. Would love to come film your game. Here is my YouTube and here is my other socials if you would like to see that. And 9 times out of 10, at least now that I have a following, it's kind of free publicity, right? And as long as you're not being a creeper and freaking taking pictures of the girls like up, the cheerleaders up in, whatever they're doing, right? Like, because there was a dude apparently a couple years ago who got in trouble with that, who just walked onto the field, took pictures of cheerleaders, and then like sold them on the internet. Went to jail.
Oh, man.
And so it's kind of a catch-22 for me because, like we talked about earlier, with all these kids and whatnot that are coming in with not really credentialed, if you will, they don't really have much of a following. They could just waltz in. I think there has to be some level of security at these games too, right? Because, you never know what kind of areas you're going to walk into. Hell, the photographer, there might be a fight that breaks out into the stands, and if you're not seasoned enough to know, like, hey, if I post that video, I'm going to get this school and those people in a lot of trouble, because I've got a lot of incriminating evidence still in the locker right now. Like, there's a couple videos, the kids could go to jail if I release it, but like, it's not right? And so there has to be some level of like security at these games. On the flip side, I also like how I can just walk in. It's nice. But on the other hand,
you've proven yourself to like, hey, I am a content creator. Here is literally my work via like Instagram or YouTube. So it's not like you're doing anything weird or sus. Yeah,
like I'm not a stooge.
You're showing proof that you're like, hey, I'm a validated content creator and I want to create some stuff for you guys. And especially, who's gonna want to say no to like dope content?
You'd be surprised. You'd be very surprised, honestly. Because, and I will say this, and I actually agree with it. There's a school up in North Carolina called Julius Chambers, and they have done a really good job of basically saying, hey, you have to fill out this form, you have to fill out a background check, all that kind of stuff. But on there, the disclaimer is, before you post anything of this game, our own in-house people have to post first.
That sounds pretty standard to me, though.
I think it is too, and it's a great idea because that means all the traffic inevitably goes to them first, right? If a kid makes a great play, well, the Julius Chambers Instagram account is going to get that first. If another creator wants to get that same play later on, might not get as much traffic, but they're allowed to do so. But it's also in the contract; you should honor it. I think that's something that schools probably need to get into. I don't think schools really know how to designate, what should be allowed. I've seen some schools where like you're allowed, you can fill out this form, you're allowed to shoot, but you have to give a donation to the school. And it's like, okay, that's interesting. You're basically just weeding out the people who don't want to pay $50 to go do that, which I don't know if that's their end goal, right? But you also have other schools. University of Colorado, Dion's doing it right now. He allowed 800 media members to get into the last game. And that's a lot. Now, I don't know if media includes like just videographers and content creators, right? It's probably media, right? Means sideline passes. But even still, that's a lot. So, it's kind of a catch-22 in terms of all that kind of stuff.
What I find pretty fascinating when it comes to like sports videography in the high school or in the college level, I assumed that the institution is going to, well, I don't want to say the word hired, but just have someone from a student, for example, in the actual school that's in the media, that's majoring in film or media, that's going to, hey, come to the games. We'll probably pay you minimum wage, create these dope content reels for us, because I see a ton of really great content from the college level, college football, especially now that's ramping up. There are some, and you see, they're like young individuals. I don't know if they're kids or not, but like you see them with a nice setup, like an FX3 or a Sony A7S FX6 at these college games, creating some really cool, even in the high school level, like local high school level here in San Diego, for example, Carlsbad High, they have an amazing media content creation team. And I'm like, well, they could be students that just major in this, because it's very easy to learn this for free via YouTube. Or I wonder if they're hiring someone specifically, like an individual like yourself, that's not actually part of the school.
You're right on both of them. So colleges, they don't pay at all. Like,
and I assume that because they're students,
right?
The NCAA knows how to pimp out people.
Veteran, What's that?
I said the NCAA knows how to pimp out their students.
Well, and yeah, it's rough, but if you're a seasoned veteran, if you go to a college game, you're more than likely shooting for a publication. You're not going to, you can't sell your photos because it's copyright infringement. So you have to give it to a publication or a website that's already got the copyright rights. And for all the content creation that you're talking about on their socials, it is the students. It is part of the creative teams of the athletics. And most of the time, I would say 80% of them are just interns and they're students, and they might get paid minimum wage. They might not. It's for the love of the school, right?
That was the term I was looking for, internship. Yeah, they're probably interns most likely, because I doubt they're getting paid anything. And if they are, it's pennies on the dollar.
Now, I know this for a fact. Clemson pays their people. That I just know that from experience. Actually, one of the people who's like the senior creative directors there now for football actually went to school with me.
Yeah, but he's not a current student right now, so that makes sense.
No, she's not. She's she's been out since how long I've been out. So
yeah.
So there's that. As far as the high school level, it depends on the high school. It really depends on how big it is, right? In San Diego, it depends on how much money there is, right? You have the national schools like Mater Dei out in high school. They're going to have their in-house people, right? Because it's a big enough school.
And it's a private school too. So, they're privately funded and whatnot. So, but yeah, for example, Mater Dei, they have an amazing social media, specifically football page, which is
and they let people come in. Because they know that the content creators that want to go film that, they know they're going to get hits. And it's like you said, it's free publicity. But you're actually starting to see what high schools are doing, what colleges are doing. They're starting to integrate media classes as a class, and it's basically the new and revamped yearbook class. So so you're gonna have, let's say, 20 students, right, for the fall in there. And now I don't know if it's a year-long class or not, but let's just say it is a year-long class. You have 35 students, and you designate, 3 to 5 students per sport, right? You have editors, and then you have shooters, right? And then they flip back and forth, obviously, to gain the experience. And that's what these big high schools are doing. And while I hate it as an outside person in, because it's like, why don't y'all hire me? Because, not to be a jerk, but I know more, right? I know how to edit better, right? I know what I'm looking for. I've got the experience, right? On the flip side, dude, if I had if we had that in high school, I would never do it, right? Because I would be playing the sport. But I think it's fantastic. I think it's awesome because it's also a new wave. Another little tangent, but you don't have to go to college. You can get the experience, and like that guy CS Productions that I told you about. He's going to Clemson for the same major as me, but he wants to be a professional photographer or whatever. In the end, I'm like, dude, you're wasting your money. The only reason why you're going to Clemson is because you want to gain the connections to go further.
Right.
Well,
isn't that what they say about school? At the university level, it's like you're literally paying for the networking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I think high school, it is pretty cool that high schools are starting to integrate their own media teams. Yeah. I think it's good.
I think it's fantastic. Again, we could go off tangent when it comes to providing. Well, how do they compensate these creators? It's so new. We're in such new territories when it comes to content creation, especially the high school level. Because again, I keep referencing high school because I've seen some great, amazing professional content in just the high school level itself. So, right. Obviously the college level, they have a lot more money to fund these programs, like media programs and whatnot. But not every high school can do that.
Nope. And imagine what these content creators that are doing for these high schools, if you give them a budget to go direct a small movie. I can't imagine how many, I look at a company like Omaha Productions, Peyton Manning's new company, and it's awesome. They're effectively taking the Hard Knocks model, but making it better. And
I don't know about better, man. That Hard Knocks level is so good.
It's good, and Omaha Productions is on its way. And so QB1 on Netflix, all these sports docs, and you're going to start seeing a lot of people like me who got a good following and whatnot, but you want to get bigger, right? Well, how can you ball on a budget to another level, right? There's always levels to how you can ball on a budget. You're going to start seeing more high schools, which is also another idea I have, is making a Hard Knocks for a high school, you know? I mean, it's free recruiting too. I mean, as much as we don't want to talk about it, as much as we want to frown upon it, there's recruiting in high school, and social media is the free way to do it.
I actually, that just reminded me of what you just said right now. Pitched this idea because I wanted to do the Hard Knocks version to my high school, which is Oceanside High, and history. Like we have an amazing program. At least when we used to play 2 state championships, tons of CIFs. Right now they're definitely on the come up right now. So when I inquired, I just wanted to do some videography. I wasn't really getting paid that much, but I just wanted to film. And so I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to film some high school stuff. And spoke with the coach, and I remember the coach specifically saying via email, it's like, yeah, this kind of content would be amazing to attract students to come, because we're a public school, so we can't recruit since we're not a private school. It would be amazing to recruit these kids to our school. And when it came to discussing about potentially some sort of compensation, there wasn't really much on their end, but they really wanted the video content. And long story short, it didn't work out.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the future of content creation in a nutshell, is that it's free advertising now. I mean, not free, right? There's no such thing as a free lunch, but you're going to start seeing more of this kind of stuff as social media evolves too. I mean, like you talked about with YouTube, I mean, kids want to go watch why, kids want to see why IMG Academy is so successful. I mean, they want to see the behind the scenes of that. They want to see why they run the program that they do, right? It trickled down from, obviously, college, and now it's coming to here. So, and like you said on your last video with Juan, we're in a content creation boom, right? And high school sports is about to be like that. So football is going to be the first. Then it's going to be the other sports that can afford to do it. And they're going to realize, oh man, maybe we do need to invest in this kind of stuff, right? And maybe we do need a digital marketer, right? Maybe we do need an outside person, because obviously the more money that you can bring in for sport, because we all know that sports is what brings in the money, right? I mean, hate to break it to people, but academics is cool, but sports brings in the money. When you bring in the money, you're going to attract other people to live in your area, right? So, you get your sports up, means your education's up, right?
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to start seeing a lot of schools, I think, really investing in this kind of stuff, right? At least if I was a principal, that's what I'd be doing.
Right. Going back to you, man, where do you see yourself wanting to produce? What is your end goal? Do you want to be some sort of creative director for a college level, like Clemson, for example, or do you want to go in the pros?
No, I don't have any aspirations to go college or pro, that kind of stuff. It's too saturated. You don't get to really be yourself. You're beholden unto their ideas in a fashion. We already talked about the compensation. It's really not that much. What I would love to do is really just to build my YouTube channel up and keep it growing and keep avenues. I would love to start building a network of basically I hire videographers to go film and cover games. And then we post it onto either it's going to grow into another channel or my channel. Other people have already started this idea too, but they just don't have the funding for it. Because, it's great to say, oh man, hey, it's the same concept with getting an intern to do stuff, right? You pay for peanuts, you get monkeys, right? So if you want the quality, you're going to have to spend the money for it, right? And so that's what I'm kind of waiting on is okay, when my YouTube starts to get the money for stuff, then I'm going to start investing it back into what the next plan is. So I would love to own, my own little digital media company, website management, kind of like a digital marketing, but really specified with sports, and kind of provide that service that, maybe schools don't have. If we can, if I can send a couple of dudes to cover your team for the whole year for a price of $5,000, right? And we'll also run your social media the whole year, might be in your budget.
Yeah, I mean, to me that sounds like a pretty great idea. I don't see why you guys can't do it. I mean, like you said, gear's accessible. You could teach kids nowadays how to shoot properly and figure out frame rates and whatnot. I mean, you figured it out on the fly. So I mean, if you could do it, anyone else could do it. But I think that's a fantastic idea to build that presence, that online presence, become a media powerhouse in your local area, and then from there pitch to schools like, hey, we could do this A, B, C, and D. What you're doing is great, but look at what we're doing though, and you want to be a part of this.
Yeah, and I want to provide back to the kids. I mean, I never had this in high school. There was no such thing as huddle. I mean, never had. I mean, to send out highlights, we had to burn it on the CD and mail it to someone, right? Like, that's what I grew up in, and like all these kids got Twitter and they can post their highlights. But like, what about the stuff that makes them look cool?
That could be another great idea too, like offering these 5-star recruits in your area, like, hey, mom and dad, I know you guys don't have a camera, but like we could do and produce this for you on top of making a highlight sizzle reel on top of a regular reel to put it on your socials, so colleges see your actual kid doing and balling.
Well, and I always tell parents, I'm not here to get your kid recruited. I'm here to make your kid look cool. So because coaches don't want to see a sideline view, they want to see an eagle eye view and like how you fucked up on the field. Because I want to see your flaws, right? But I can help you grow your social media presence and can help you maybe land some NIL deals. So to me, that would be a bigger selling point of, hey, I got a kid who's going to be your personal photographer for the whole year. Parents, what would you be? Would you be up for that, right? And I can lock you in. That
online presence does give you some sort of clout where kids will, or schools that weren't necessarily paying attention to you, but like they see your online presence, like, whoa, who is this person? Oh, well, he has a few videos out here. Whoa, this guy's actually a good offensive tackler or whatever. Look at that pancake right there. Like, yeah, that online presence of looking cool. I mean, we're in a weird world where like cloud is everything, but that will translate to dollars.
Yes, and I hate to say it, because as much as I love social media, it's so terrible, but it's where the attention is, right? And it's where the money is too. So you kind of have to follow the money. So
you got to play the game, man. You got to play the game.
Yep. That's the worst part.
As we're wrapping up, man, can you provide 5 tips for any aspiring sports videographer that's looking to break into the industry?
Yeah. I would say, and I got 1% on my camera too, so this will be fun. I would say, know your sport. I mean, that's number one thing to me. Absolutely know your sport within and out. You should be a coach of that sport. I'd say 2, build the relationships with the teams. That'll just give you more access, and obviously building relationships, that's kind of how the world works. Know your gear in and out. I think no matter what you have, you need to, if something breaks on field, you need to learn how to operate it quickly, because the next play is coming. I would say invest in your gear, right? I know people want to say gear don't matter. I hate to break it to y'all, kind of does, right? Especially in the sports world, because you need the capabilities to shoot fast. So invest in the gear, right? Get the starter stuff and then move on. And then 5, I would say study YouTube. I mean, YouTube is your best friend. I mean, yeah, YouTube is your best friend.
Love it. Love it. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for getting on the podcast. If you guys want to connect with Stephen, his link will be in description, Instagram and YouTube channel as well. Stephen, thanks a lot for getting on the pod, man.
Peace out, brother.